Hey guys, yeah, another wrestling review, but this one, it's actually a special kind of review because, as you can see, it's still kind of daylight outside. It's a little after 7 now because the match or the event that we were looking forward to the most actually started at 4 o'clock. Yeah, the event, Ric Flair's last match, just in case anybody was wondering, was indeed seen, as I check, make sure the mic is on, was indeed shown on traditional pay-per-view as well as Fight TV. Now, were there some technical issues? A bit, nothing to really sneeze about. I mean, the mic, I don't think it was my soundbar or anything because when you watch wrestling and even some sporting events, you have to have it on either standard or surround, maybe even game, but mostly standard and surround. You can have it on the smart volume option, which is audio, which it kind of tries to balance things out. But unless you have like the extra surround sound, which I still got to get, it's more better to switch over to standard volume or surround volume, in my opinion. Anyway, yeah, today was Ric Flair's last match event. And like I said, it was on traditional pay-per-view. And it ran from, I think, 4 o'clock to little under 7 o'clock. Just barely 3 hours, I believe. I think that's what it did. As I'm going to try to look here. Of course, Wikipedia would have it up. And everything. So, yeah, it said the pre-show simulcast free on YouTube at 6:05 Eastern, which was 3:05 our time, which was a nod to the traditional JCP, Jim Crockett Promotions World Championship Wrestling program that aired on TBS throughout the 80s and the 90s. And because of that, it started around 4 o'clock. So, basically, it started around 4 o'clock. And everything, which was pretty good because, again, that's another traditional nod to the fact that a lot of pay-per-views back in the 80s and the 90s would start, mostly with TBS and all that, the Turner Networks, they would start around 4 o'clock. That way if the pay-per-view was on a Sunday, if the pay-per-view was on a Sunday, they could get it done with by almost 7 o'clock. Just like they did here, and that way people who had school, kids who had school or people who had to go to work the next day can relax, watch some regular television and all that afterwards, and then get plenty of sleep. So it was a nice little nod that they did there, and especially for someone like me, because even though I have to do 4.5 hours tomorrow, it's still appreciative that they're doing that. Anyway, as far as the show goes, like I said, there were technical issues, but they were very minor. Like I said, the mic sound or something like that, but so far everything was okay. Was the camera work a little off at times? A little bit, but not much. It felt, I'll put it this way, the production work felt, just right. It felt very, very right. It basically, in a sense, also was a nod to how WCW under the NWA Jim Crockett banner would kind of film their shows at times, because there were times you can even watch it on the WWE Network on Peacock, or you can watch it on YouTube. You can see several classic NWA shows where the camera angles were very similar to what you saw tonight. As far as the event goes, they did have a couple preliminary matches, basically pre-show matches, which would be considered, preliminary dark matches, whatever you want to call them. We had the New Japan showcase on the pre-show, which was Rei Nada defeating Yura Imuro. I have to go back and watch that. But I did see on YouTube the Mance Warner winning the Bunkhouse Battle Royal. Now, in case you guys wonder what a Bunkhouse Battle Royal is, it's basically like a Royal Rumble. Well, it's not a Royal Rumble match, but it's basically a Battle Royal match. And The difference is you could use weapons. You can use weapons. It's basically a hardcore battle royal. And there wasn't much weapon use or anything in here, but what was interesting was after Bully Ray came in, and you think Bully Ray's the last entrant, right? Nope. All of a sudden you hear this bong, bong, very familiar bong to anybody that's a part of a certain fan base that goes under the numbers MDK. That's right, Nick Gage showed up along with his GCW crew, which consisted of Manslaughter, who I thought was already in there. But it had Joey Janela, it had Blake Christian, who I could swear is, loyal to whoever, will book him. But mostly he's a GCW guy, I guess. But yeah, he had his JCW crew come in and kind of add themselves to the match. Kind of do a little bit of a GCW invasion for the match. And again, even though it was billed as a bunkhouse brawl, the only weapon that they used was Sim Bodie. That's right, Sim Bodie, who was one of the producers on the show, using a spare ring rope to try to choke out Wolfie D. And Wolfie D, I'll say this, still bald-headed. No offense on that, but it looks like he's gained some weight. And I say that with all due respect to Wolfie D, but it looks like he's gained some weight. But he still looks good. So, this went for about, according to Wikipedia, 11 minutes. And it came down to Mance Warner and Bully Ray. And Bully Ray ended up being eliminated by Mance Warner. And he was rewarded the gold buckle and the golden shoe, which the GCW crew poured some beer into so he can drink out of. Which I think they've done that before when they've done these kind of bunkhouse matches. But yeah, it was a nice little pre-show. Mostly I think the bunkhouse match was probably the best highlight out of it. Then we get to the official pay-per-view, and I wasn't sure at first if it was on pay-per-view, but I had a feeling it might be, because if it's on Fight TV and it's being promoted as such a big deal, that it has to be on pay-per-view, and it was. So for $34.99, $35, I ordered it. And I basically ordered it, just as the Motor City Machine Guns and the Wolves, the American Wolves, as they were once known, were opening the match, or opening the event. And I have to say that the match, for an opener, was pretty good. It was pretty good. The Machine Guns won by hitting their finisher, one of the finishers, which was the crossbows something. It looked like Alex Shelley hurt his knee and all that, so thankfully that wasn't the case. He might have just, popped it. Like, sometimes when you do something, hard with your elbow or your knee, sometimes you'll feel like you broke it, but you may have just popped it. Like you get a, pop bubble, like let's say I do this. And usually you hear like a pop, and it's just bubbles, or you just like crack your knuckles. It's just water popping. So I can assume that that's probably what happened. He had a pop, which basically was like his knee popping. The water, the juice kind of drained out of it, and that's why he kind of hurt him. But yeah, the match was good. It was a solid opener. The next match was Killer Kross with Scarlett Bodair against Davey Boy Smith Jr. That was a short match. Killer Kross went over. I will say this for anybody that's a fan of Killer Kross or Karrion Kross, depending on how you view him. You might look at this and be like, "Oh, this made him look weak." And here's the thing: I think what's making him look weak in any people's eyes, it looked like he lost some muscle mass a little bit. But I'm sure if he gains that back a little bit, he'll be intimidating. He's still intimidating. I'll put it that way. He ended up winning, I think, with the quickening, which used to be known in WWE as the cross line, where he hit basically Davey Boy in the back, and that was it. So he won that match. And again, I know people would say, "Oh, he didn't look, the same way he used to." Again, I think it's the hair he's grown in, as well as I could think he lost a little bit of muscle mass. So yeah, I think if he shaves the hair again and grows back and kind of builds back up that muscle mass, that he'll probably be as intimidating as he used to be in the eyes of a lot of fans that probably view him as otherwise. I still think he looks intimidating. I mean, yeah, it's kind of surprising to see him with hair and all that, but I think he still looks intimidating, and I think he is on somebody's radar, if you know what I mean, and I'll get into that in a moment. The next match was Jonathan Gresham, Alan Angels, formerly of the Dark Order, Kensu Tanicha, and Nick Wayne. Nick Wayne is actually 17 years old from what they build, and is the son of, I think, one of the original Moondogs, or at least the grandson of one of the original Moondogs. This was a fast-paced match, only went for about 5 minutes. 5 minutes, 10 seconds according to this. Jonathan Gresham wins the match. He ends up, I think, pinning Alan Angels, or was it Nick Wayne, one of them. He ends up pinning one of them, and because he won, he will get a shot at the Progress World title. So it doesn't look like Jonathan's out of wrestling yet, but just like his girlfriend, his wife, Jordynne Grace, he kind of lets his temper get the best of him. Gresham, in my opinion, is the kind of person that, how do I put this? He's the kind of person that will vent his frustrations out loud instead of like keeping his frustrations, his venting to himself, you know, and then probably taking out his frustrations on a punching bag or something. You know, he's the kind of person that when he gets really frustrated, he lets his temper get the best of him, and he vocally vents out his frustration in front of people. I kind of know this because myself and my mom, you know, when we're really tired from work, you know, and everything, if somebody says the wrong thing to us or teases us in the wrong way, or we feel it's the wrong way, you know, we will blow up. And we will blow up for no damn reason. So that's basically what I think it was. I think Jonathan Gresham has this temperament to where when he blows up, he lets that frustration he wants to be vented out in front of people, and he probably doesn't really mean the things he says. He just comes out because he's angry. But yeah, he's going to get a shot at the Progress World Championship in the near future. Then we had a legacy tag team match. We had Brian Pillman Jr. and Brock Anderson with Arn Anderson, Brock's father, in the corner, representing the Horsemen, against the Rock and Roll Express, represented by Ricky Morton and his son Kerry Morton, with Robert Gibson at ringside. And this was a good match. It was a nice little showcase for Kerry Morton, who not many people know of. He's mostly seen in the NWA. And for Brian Pillman and Brock Anderson. And I can tell you this right now, and I'm sure people might point this out when they review the show. The way Pillman and Anderson worked here, you know, if you want to include Griff Garrison into the mix, we could be looking at AEW's interpretation of the Four Horsemen. Yeah, we could. Because you have Arn Anderson kind of in the J.J. Dillon role, if you will. And Brock is in the Arn role, and you have Pillman probably in the Brian Pillman role, or Lex Luger, Tully Blanchard, you know, well, not Tully Blanchard, but the Lex. I'll put it this way: you have Brock in the Arn Anderson role, you have Brian Pillman, you know, kind of in the role his father was in, or the role of a Barry Windham, you know, Ole Anderson kind of thing. Well, maybe not Ole Anderson, but a Barry Windham, Lex Luger, Sting, you know, that one person that sometimes fit or doesn't fit in the Horsemen. You have him in that role. And then if you want to add in Griff Garrison, he could be like the Tully Blanchard of the group. And then you would just need one more. Who could you get? And honestly, you know, if they want to, they can get Jay Lethal. They could Jay Lethal. They have Sanjay Dutt by his side as sort of an advisor. You know, or heck, they can get Ari Daivari, who's coming into this, who's doing this new gimmick. If you do watch a bit of Dark, he has this gimmick where he has a trust fund, a massive trust fund, and he's already got Slim J at his side. So you could do that with him. You could have Ari Daivari kind of fill out the role, and there you go. You could have your Four Horsemen of AEW, but we'll see. But they worked out pretty good as a team, and they won. Yeah, Brock and Brian won the match against Kerry and Ricky, and that was it. The next match we had was a AAA four-way showcase. It was a AAA four-way showcase between between Rey Fenix, Bandino, Laredo Kid, and Black Taurus. And this was good. This was probably the match of the night in a lot of people's minds. This was the match of the night. And in the end, Rey Fénix won. He won it. I think he pinned Black Taurus. Yeah, he pinned Black Taurus. He pinned Black Taurus. But all these guys showed why some of the best luchadors in AAA, if not in the companies that they're wrestling for outside of AAA. You know, they really showed the stuff. Rey Fénix, again, won. You know, as a lot of people feel he should. And I think it was Ian Riccaboni. Yeah, I think it was Ian Riccaboni that was calling this match. And Ian, I think it was Ian Riccaboni, or was it somebody else? I gotta think. Who was calling the match? It might have been Joe Dombrowski or something. It was one of them. But yeah, I think it was Joe Dombrowski or something. And he basically put over. I don't know if it was Ian, Todd, or Joe. One of them put Rey Fénix over as this generation's Rey Mysterio, which kind of tells me that again a certain somebody has their eyes on Rey, if you know what I mean, for certain futures. And again, I'll get into that in a moment. But yeah, the match was the match of the night. Then we had Josh Alexander defending the Impact World Championship against Jacob Fatu, who, by the way, if you do not know who Jacob Fatu is, watch MLW, watch some of the matches he's involved in there, as well as outside of MLW, and you will see exactly why WWE should forget about the freaking past with this guy and sign him. He's part of the Samoan dynasty, if you know what I mean. I think he is related in some way to Roman Reigns. He has some kind of family connection to Roman Reigns. So WWE needs to sign this guy, or AEW needs to sign this guy, because, or even Impact, but mostly the two I just talked about should sign him, because he is phenomenal. He's one of those rare athletes that at his size, at his weight, you know, it's no exaggeration when people say he moves like a cat, because he does. He does things that you don't think a guy his size and weight should do. But yeah, he and Josh Alexander had a physical matchup. Jacob Fatu mostly dominated this match for a majority of it. Josh did come back. He did get a few moves in there. And just when it looked like I think either Fatu or Alexander was going to win, out comes the major players, Brian Myers and Matt Cardona, who obviously I guess is now healed up and everything. And yeah, they didn't last long because I think Alexander took out, not Alexander, but I think Fatu, along with Alexander's help, took out Brian Myers. And then, out of nowhere, I don't know if he just got to his seat and then just got back up or something, but out of nowhere, out of the front row comes DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, and basically gets in the ring, turns Matt Cardona around, hits him with a diamond cutter, and then that's it. And he celebrates with Josh Alexander. And much to my surprise and enjoyment, his original WCW theme hit. It played. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The original WCW theme. I love it. Don't know why WWE didn't want to use that. What, because of lawsuits? Well, they can pay for CM Punk's Code of Personality to be used and other songs to be used. Why not, DDP's song, I should say. But yeah, it was great to hear that again, and I loved it. I really did. Next up, we had the Briscoes and the Von Erichs. Basically, it's Ring of Honor versus MLW. And this was a good match. It was really good. The Von Erichs definitely have a lot of promise. There's no doubt. They are multiple-time tag team champs in MLW. But like I said, they have promise. But in the end, the Briscoes won. They ended up, I think, pinning I think they ended up pinning Marshall Von Erich. I think that's who they pinned. Let me check if they got a. No, it was no. I don't know who it was. It was either Marshall or Raw. I think it was Marshall. Yeah, it was Marshall Von Erich they pinned. But yeah, it was a good match. A good showing for the Von Erichs on a national stage. And for the Briscoes as well. Still proving they're one of the best tag teams outside of any major company. And yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good matchup. And Again, I think the Von Erichs are going to be a team on a certain radar, and again, I will talk about that in a moment. Then we had Jordynne Grace against Deonna Purrazzo and Rachael Ellering. It almost looked like this three-way was going to be turned into a singles match, because what happened is there was a move, there was a situation I don't know if it was at the beginning. Yeah, it was at the beginning. Well, basically, they were trying to put each other, or pin each other, I should say. And what happened is Jordynne ended up rolling on top of Rachael's ankle and kind of bending it awkwardly. It was like, ooh, that looked really nasty. And on the replay, it did look nasty. But to her credit, Rachael continued. And she would keep having her ankle checked and everything. But the women did put on a good show here. And in the end, Jordynne Grace won, which she should, by putting Rachael in the submission. I think basically her version of the Coquille clutch. And Rachael tapped out before she passed out. So yeah, Jordynne retained her title, and will go on to Emergence in Chicago, in the Chicago region, at Citro Stadium, to face Mia Yim. So yeah, Jordynne Grace continues to keep her dominance going with the Impact Knockouts Championship since she won it at Slammiversary. Alright, then of course we get the final match of the evening, Ric Flair and Andrade El Idolo versus Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. The match was good. The video package they put for this, was pretty nice. I mean, I know Brian Alvarez liked it because he was in there a lot. He even said, "Oh, that was a nice video package." You know, that's what he said on his Twitter page. He said, "Oh, that was a great video package." And then I commented back to him. I said, "Of course, you were in it." You know, but yeah, the match was good. Ric Flair, of course, did his Ric Flair stuff. Not any of the flop down to the mat kind of stuff, but basically, you know, did some of the typical Ric Flair stuff. He did the strut, he did the chops, he bled, and everything. He did everything, you know, you would expect Ric Flair to do, with a few exceptions. And I like the idea, and I like the fact that they pointed out that, you know, Rick has realized, hey, he's not the Rick of old. That he has to now kind of pace himself with these kind of matches. And overall, the match was a good match. You had good storytelling in it. You had Megan Flair, Conrad Thompson's wife, Megan Flair, intervene. She basically grabbed Karen Jarrett. She was like, she basically got sick and tired of this. Or sick and tired of Karen's interference and stuff. You know, and I think just Alex thought it was Charlotte at first. And I was expecting Charlotte to come down the aisle. I was expecting that the moment Karen handed her high heel to Jeff to hit Rick with, and the constant interfering and all that, I was expecting some kind of version, or if not her theme period, from WWE to hit, and out she would come. But she didn't. She didn't do that. I'm assuming she's probably in the back, but because she's under WWE contract and she's one of the major stars of WWE, they couldn't allow her to do it. But yeah, besides that though, the match was good. It ended with Jarrett accidentally hitting Jay Lethal with the guitar. What happened is Jay held up Rick to get hit with it, but Andrade came in, you know, grabbed Rick, got him out of the way, and, you know, Jarrett ended up hitting Jay in the head with the guitar. And then Conrad Thompson throws Andrade some brass knuckles, which instead of using them on Jeff, he hands them to Rick, and Rick uses them on Jeff, puts him into the figure four, but they didn't have no referee because Mike Chioda got super kicked by Jay Lethal, you know, straight out of the match. And they needed somebody else to come out. And who came out? I think they have it listed here with the referee. Dave Miller. Yeah, Dave Miller is a longtime referee for Jim Crockett and the NWA and all that. Came out, counted the 3, and that was it. And and Ric Flair wins his last match. He gets the pinfall, he wins his last match. And I thought it was good. I thought it was a good send-off, a good way to end. he did a speech afterwards. Tony interviewed him. He did, Rick then, took the mic and did a speech, which I thought was really good. You had confetti coming down and all that. So yeah, it was a nice send off. It was a good send off for Rick. And they did have a lot of people in attendance that you would not expect to be there, besides, Ric Flair's family. Some of the people they had there was Undertaker, Mick Foley, Bret Hart. Now, you might say, how did they get Undertaker? Undertaker's retired now. So, WWE has no say in him doing what he's doing. So, or what he can and cannot do. So, he was there. Mick Foley was there. Bret Hart was there. Kid Rock, fresh off his appearance in the audience at SummerSlam last night, he was there. So yeah, it was pretty nice to see. And then you had the video messages. You had messages from Sting, from Jim Ross. You had messages, believe it or not, from Shawn Michaels, Nick Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler, if you will. You had a message from Cody Rhodes. And seeing these video messages from them, it does show that WWE, now under Triple H's regime, and Stephanie's regime, is cool with this. They're cool with this. Because we all know that if Vince was still in charge, Vince would have not allowed Undertaker... Vince... This is what would have happened. This is another difference of Triple H and Stephanie being in charge over Vince. If Vince was still running things right now, Vince would have done everything in his power to call up Undertaker and say that he's found a way to legally make sure Undertaker doesn't go and show up at that event. Or, he would have basically said no to Cody and Shawn doing these video messages. Because, that's who he is. But now that Triple H is running things along with Steph and Nick Khan, now we see all this is happening without a problem. We do. But overall, the event was good. It was a good event, a good send-off for Rick. I can't wait to put it onto DVD if I can without anybody, taking it off. But yeah, I can't wait to put it onto DVD down the line, hopefully without any copy protection and all that. But yeah, the show was good. Nice send-off. Had a decent mixture and array of mixture. Well, I'm trying to say he's had a decent mixture and array of matches thrown throughout. And like I said, it was a good send-off. It was a nice little send-off and everything. Now, what I mentioned, at the beginning here, I mentioned, certain people being on the radar of a certain somebody. You cannot tell me if he wasn't there in person himself, because, he was in Nashville last night, so it wouldn't be suffice to say that he wouldn't probably, unless they had a show tonight, it wouldn't be suffice to say that he didn't go over to the municipal auditorium, and I guess you could say be backstage for Ric Flair's final match, because you know what, they put on the Twitter, there was a picture that was put on Twitter of Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio, and Brian Pillman Jr. Yeah, WWE stars alongside an AEW star. That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool to see. So, and they were there for Ric Flair. So it's suffice to say that Triple H was there too, and everything. And I don't think he was just there to help celebrate Ric's last match and everything. Which everybody was there for to pay tribute, to contribute to and contribute to and pay tribute to is what I'm trying to say. But you gotta know he was there talking to some people to bring him in. You know it. He had to be talking to the Von Erichs. He had to be talking to Laredo Kid. He had to be talking to Jacob Fatu. He had to be talking to Nick Wayne, Davey Boy Smith Jr., Killer Kross, maybe Mance Warner. He was talking to a lot of these guys because with him in charge now, they could, they have a better chance of having opportunity in WWE than they would anywhere else. So you know that he wasn't Triple H wasn't just there to help celebrate, Ric Flair's last match, but to also basically, his business and, business-wise and, self-centered as it may sound to some people, he was also there to talk business with some potential new signees. And again, if I'm Triple H, and I'm sure he's looking at them, the Von Erichs, Killer Kross, Davey Boy Smith Jr., Kerry Morton maybe, Jacob Fatu, Rachael Ellering, if she's fine, Mance Warner. I'm sure he's talking to all of them to bring them in, to bring them into NXT, bring them into the main roster as themselves, with maybe a tweak to their name, maybe a tweak to their personas, but not much, but mainly as themselves, so they can get the exposure they deserve. So I'm not going to be surprised if if that's why Triple H was there, as well as along with what I'm trying to say, for celebrating Ric's last match, if you know what I'm saying. I know I kind of fumbled on my words a little bit. I do apologize. Let me get some more coffee. But he had to be there, along with the fact that he was there to help celebrate with Ric. You know that. But yeah, overall the event was good, and I highly recommend, if you get a chance to watch it on Fight TV or on pay-per-view, watch it. You will not regret it. Watch the event. It is very, very well done. Again, are there some issues technical-wise, mic-wise, and all that? Yes. But camera-wise at times, yes. But overall, it was a good event. And I'm not going to say that I'm not going to say that any more than I am. And I do want to say this in closing. Ric, thank you for all the memories, man. Thank you for making me and everybody else a wrestling fan. Because I'll tell you this, when I was a kid and I was flipping through the channels, when me and my parents were living in the Bay Area, living here in the Central Valley, and of course living with my grandparents, I always remember tuning in, going from like USA, to TBS and all that. I remember tuning in to TBS and seeing you there, and your rivalry with Sting and Steamboat and Funk. And I'll never forget, like, 1991. I saw it almost felt like one day you were there, and then one day you were in the NWA WCW, then you went, and the next day you're in WWF. That's how it felt to me. But yeah, when I heard you were coming there, I was like, wait a minute, did he say Ric Flair? And then when I saw Bobby Heenan showing off the belt and everything, I'm like, that belt belongs to Ric Flair. What the? Oh, that belt belongs to the NWA, WCW. What the heck? So yeah, I was happy when you showed up there, even though it was only a handshake deal and all that. I was just happy to see you show up there, get the recognition you deserve twice as WWF champion, and then continue to build your legacy long after that. Even when you went back to WCW, well, it was still in its. I would say it was still in its final year, if you will. I think it's final months of partnership with the NWA. But I was happy to see you back there. I was happy to see you grow your legacy, get the dream match in front of the world against Hogan that you did on several occasions, probably more than we can count. But yeah, I was glad to see you do that. I was glad to see you go back to WWE, continue your legacy there. I was actually happy to see you go to TNA, even though people will criticize you kind of tarnished your retirement match with Shawn in WWE. To hear that Shawn gave you his blessing and everything, at least, to me that's justification that, hey, if the guy retiring you said it's okay for you to go back, then I have no say in it. But overall, I gotta thank you for the memories, man. I gotta thank you for the memories, and you had a heck of a match to go out with. So thank you, Ric Flair, for all the memories. Enjoy your time with your family and everything, and rest assured that your legacy right now as we speak is in the best hands it's ever been in the form of not just the man you teamed up with tonight, Andrade and El Idolo, but it's definitely, straight up blood-wise, it is in the best hands, as far as WWE is concerned, from an in-ring perspective, in your daughter Charlotte. So Ric Flair, thank you for the memories, and know, like I said, that the family legacy is going to continue with Andrade in AEW and Charlotte in WWE, and that's a fact. But anyway, guys, I highly recommend you guys check out Ric Flair's last match, the event itself, and until next time, I will talk to you all later. God bless. Take care. Check out my BW Roses Discussions podcast, along with supporting me at Venmo at Brian-Warmer-2 and at Cash App at BW Roses 98. Also check me out on patreon.com/BW Roses. Also check me out at Vimeo for content you can't get anywhere else at BW Roses. And support me with super chats and stickers during the live stream of the during the live chat, I should say, not the live stream, but during the live chat of the premiere. And until next time, guys, I will talk to you all later. Peace out. God bless. And again, Rick, thank you for all the memories.